heard of companies such as Squirty, if you're in the electrical field. From the IT perspective, you've heard of APC, maybe the UPSs. Now we recently acquired, earlier this year, a company called AST, which does modular data centers. We also acquired another company from the industrial business called Invensys, an English company. So we're very much into deploying our strategy worldwide, acquiring, making big acquisitions, and trying to provide better solutions while integrating all of these brands. So now, on this slide, you can see many brands, and there are much other brands in different business units. But as part of our strategy, we're trying to narrow this down to a minimum and make Schneider a bigger brand. So hopefully, when I come back to you, hopefully soon, I ask if you heard of Schneider Electric, the majority of the hands will be raised. But I'm proud of you guys. You've heard of Schneider Electric, so not bad. Data center trends. Let's start off with the video, please. DLT, and we're limited to, because of the capacity and the computing power that those devices have. As the networks grow, there will be more applications, there will be more usage, and which will require much more internet bandwidth, will require much more data center space, because all of this has to go through a data center. A question is there 4G or LTE technology here in Curacao yet? No? Yes, no? Anybody? So, one of the biggest concerns that most of the CIOs have today in their data centers is the power and cooling side. Obviously, there's software concerns, there's storage concerns, there are computing power concerns, but again, how are we going to power this data center? How are we going to cool this data center? The data centers require much more cooling, require much more power than they did before, and they require much more availability. Today, I'm going the wrong way. Today, the capacity is short, and I'm not going to go through each one of these, but because we already saw some of these numbers in previous presentations, but just to give you an idea how the demand of digitization is growing. For instance, 35 billion devices are connected. Me personally, I have here, which I'm traveling, I have a laptop, an iPad, and an iPhone. I have 3 devices here at home. I have a whole bunch of other stuff connected. Back in the day, if we had one desktop for the entire household, that'd be a lot. If it was connected to the internet, that was amazing. Today, easily, any household could have 15, 20 devices connected at the same time to the internet. So the amount of data that's being moved, 160 exabytes, 2 times the volume of data will multiply by 2 every 2 years. And the one I like the most is every 5 minutes, digital data equivalent to the information stored in U.S. Congress Library is created. Every 5 minutes. That is something amazing. Now, if we think of, I don't know if you've heard of a 4K ultra high definition. We all like high def, right? Now, that's part of the past. Now it's 4K. It's 4 times more definition. You're going to see on your tablets, you're going to see on your laptop, you're going to see on your TVs. That's going to be a lot more storage needed and processing power to transmit all those 4K or ultra high definition images, videos through the internet. So that's something that it seems like we're never going to be up to speed on how to manage and the capacity to handle all these new technologies. 84% of data centers have issues with power, space, and cooling, capacity, assets, uptimes, etc. Most of, again, and this is pretty much the same, most of the outages that a data center has is due to power or cooling. People don't really give it a lot of thought of cooling, but if a server goes above typically 84, 85 degrees Fahrenheit, it shuts down. So the cooling is a big issue. There's new technologies such as, we call it Echo Breeze, or it's air cooling. It's using the ambient air to cool your data center. Obviously, that's not very applicable here in Curacao because of the weather. But it's a new technology that's being implemented very much in the north and the cooler places. There's a lot of pressure in the data center. Now, this is something that you have to think about as potential customers or users of the data center. Do you want to add this pressure to your day-to-day business? Do you want to be distracted on your finance, working for the bank or working for a utility company or working in healthcare? Do you want to be distracted with all these pressure points on the data center? Or do you want to outsource that headache and have experts manage it for you? I mean, we're talking about increased density, we're talking about cloud virtualization, we're talking about new deployments, we're talking about bandwidth, asset management, maintenance, contracts, SLAs, a whole bunch of stuff. Now, is it worth it? I mean, is it worth trying to create your own department to do that? Or won't we just outsource this? Doesn't make more sense. So, Schneider Electric, again, we've been in this business for quite a while. I started off with APC. Maybe you've heard of APC? UPSs? Okay. That's where I started off. Schneider bought APC in 2007. So, when I was working at APC, we created something called the infrastructure. Infrastructure is an architecture for data centers, including racks, including UPSs, including cooling. And that we still do. And we still use, obviously, with new technologies and new innovations, but we're still using that same platform of architecture for data centers. But now with Schneider, we're adding a whole bunch of other stuff to the offering. I mean, it's not just about the white space, which is the data center floor. There's a lot more, a lot of things going on in the gray space, which is the switch gear supporting that. It's the security supporting that. It's all that surrounds and all that is needed in the data center. So that's where we come into play. And that is something that we definitely have assisted Ctex in their very ambitious project. Now, as I said in the beginning, we've been involved in this project since, I'd say, almost day one, a little over 2 years ago, and not only as a component or a product supplier. We were involved in the design engineering phase, and through the entire life cycle of the data center. We helped Anthony and his team design the data center, we have helped him implement the data center, and now we're helping him manage the data center, because that's part of the services that we offer. It's not just UPS manufacturer or rack supplier, no. It's a lot more than that. We're more a solutions type of company, and that's the approach and that's the vision that Anthony and Ctex on us. If we look at this from a component standpoint, we have over 100,000 components that can affect directly or indirectly a data center. And we can sell those components. We can sell and offer subsystems, but ultimately what we're looking at is being able to provide the entire solution, which is a combination of services, of components, of subsystems, and it's all integrated, and that's something I'll talk about a little in a few minutes. It's how we can integrate different devices. I mean, we're talking about many, many things that go into the data center, but we have built a technology that makes these components talk to each other. So we know exactly what's going on a single screen. We can definitely see how our data center is performing. So we combine the hardware and software, we combine our services, and we provide a turnkey solution as a facility operator, as what we're doing today with Ctex, trusted advisor, as what we did 2 years ago with Ctex, etc. And a DCIM integrator. I'll talk a little more about what DCIM is all about. So there's another view. Back in the day when I was APC, I was part of the IT floor. Now with Schneider, we're much more than just the IT floor. It's a gray space. It's not the white space only. It's a gray space. A lot of things have to be involved, are needed in the background. People don't see this. People don't realize all that's put into data center tier 4. There's a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that you'll never hear about, you'll never see, and you'll never even know that it is needed until, well, something happens or until you build your own data center. But this is a complex type of build out. When we're talking about tier 4s, it is very, very demanding in terms of engineering, in terms of components and solutions, and in terms of quality and implementation. So our focus is in providing a solution with infrastructure, which is the architecture for data centers, structure-aware, which is the DCIM. For those who haven't heard the term DCIM, DCIM means Data Center Infrastructure Management. It's a software plus hardware, sensors, that allows you to see in real time what's going on in your data center in terms of power, cooling, voltage. You can see outside the data center. You can see how much fuel is left in your generators. You can see the peaks that are coming in from the power supply, etc. We also are a strong believer, and I believe our friends from VCE mentioned it a lot in standardization. We also are a strong believer in standardizing components. Custom-built components, it's not the way to go in this or in anything, to be honest with you. So we're a strong believer in standardizing, in modularity, pay as you grow. You don't have to build out a huge data center without having the business yet. You can build as you grow, and that's part of our architecture. And again, we can help, and we are helping Ctex in managing the entire life cycle of the data center from day one when he thought of an idea until the operation and continuing operation of the data center. So these are, obviously I'm not going to go through all this, but this is pretty much a snapshot of the different components that go into a data center like Ctex. And I'd say that for the most part, Ctex has something of everything here. I mean, we're talking UPSs, cable management, busway, cooling, switchgear, software for management, rack mount, power distribution units, etc. So again, it's a lot of things that go in the background. People don't realize, people don't see, and they don't need to see. They need to see is availability, they need to see the solid business plan, business model, and what goes in the background, that's our job. So, consideration for a best-in-class data center. No oversizing. First of all, we're going to move, we're not going to demand unnecessary expenditures. Pay as you grow. Makes a lot of sense. I've heard this before in this forum. Pay as you grow. You don't have to pay the entire build out. You can pay as you grow. It's scalable, it's modular. Try to use and simplify and use the same components throughout the different phases or different aisles or different areas of your data center. That'll make it much easier to maintain, much cheaper to maintain. And well, from a CAPEX and an OPEX perspective, it makes definitely a lot of sense. No rework, we eliminate surprises. We want to raise efficiency, power density. It's something that's been going up and down. Again, we're seeing high performance computing, power densities of up to 30 kilowatts per rack. And the standard today, I would say, would be somewhere between 5 and 8 kilowatts per rack, which is still a lot. But if we look at a 42U rack, standard rack, if you fill it in with 8U blades, you could put how many? It's 6 blades. Each blade server with all their blades inside consumes between 4 and 5 kilowatts. So if I by simply filling a rack, one 42-year rack with 6 blades, that's going to be over 25 kilowatts of power. So that's something you have to design based on that. You have to implement based on that. You cannot simply design a data center and say, okay, I'm assuming that these racks are going to be 4 kilowatts, and our customers say, I want a 20 kilowatt rack there. I can't do it. I mean, I don't have the power, I don't have the cooling for that. So all of these things have to be considered while designing, planning, and putting together a project. Reduce the number of decisions, the complexity, operating costs, we went through that, human error, obviously, and create a one-stop shop. I mean, we saw in a previous presentation that, I think it was our friends from VCE, that it was on the table, and people, I like what he said, figuring out how he was not responsible for that problem. That is definitely something I agree with. And with us, all the infrastructure for the data center is a one-stop shop. Again, standardized, modular, we pre-test the systems in our factory, make sure that when they're here, they come and they arrive, they're already tested off the ground. We minimize on-the-spot engineering. We don't want to do that, or at least we try to keep that at a minimum, etc. There are many things that we do by standardizing in our factory plan, in our facilities, before they arrive. So it's going to save us time, it's going to save us rework costs, it's going to save us a whole bunch of headaches. So when we talk about DCIM, again, another fact from Schneider. DCIM is a software that we have designed. Well, we sell $1 billion a year in software. You didn't know that. Okay. That's DCIM, and it's all under what we call structureware. This is structureware for data centers, but we have structureware for healthcare, we have structureware for industry, we have different types of structureware for different types of applications. But basically what structureware does, or what DCIM does, it integrates sensors and it's reading on real time everything that's going on in your data center. That in some cases can be programmed to react to that data. It can make decisions for you, or it can analyze it and bring all the data that you need to make an intelligent decision. So if you've made millions and millions of dollars of an investment in a data center, I think it's very wise to be able to manage and know exactly what's going on. So this is what DCIM does. And it integrates, and that's one of the benefits of having an integrated solution, is that the switchgear is talking to the power generator, which is talking to the cooling unit, which is talking to the UPS, which is talking to all the different devices. And we can see that in the screen. We can see exactly what's going on. So DCIM is a concept that began, I'd say 3 or 4 years ago. I'm not going to say that Schneider invented it. We did not invent it, but we have invested heavily in DCIM. It's something that you're going to continue to hear more and more about. Okay, just to finalize, with Ctex we provided the broadest offer, the right strategy, and we know about data centers, and Ctex knows about data centers. So I hope when I'm back, and again, I love it here in Curacao. I should have arrived a week ago for Camilo. That's a bad time in my part. But anyhow, thank you very much, and I'll be around if you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Vidal. We welcome you back anytime. As Mr. Vidal indicated, it is indeed critical to ensure that all data center components work together well, particularly as we keep up to speed with different market demands.